Recording in progress.
Okay, hello and welcome to the January 20th, 2022 meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission. I call the meeting to order. Let's have a roll call.
Commissioner Tombe?
Here.
Vice Chair Shu?
Here.
And Chair Stanek?
Here.
And,
Hey, Kevin, I just joined. Sorry,
Commissioner Gopal.
I'm here. Just one time. I'll come on video. I have some problem. I'll be back.
And then Commissioner Bigor says she'll be absent tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. Going on our agenda, ceremonial matters and presentations. Item 1, presentation from our Youth Activity Board. I'll turn it over to our director so she can introduce them.
Great. Good evening, everyone, and happy last meeting, Commissioner Tombe. Wanted to introduce Danny Mestizo. He is our rec coordinator in charge of all things teen, and he is here to introduce the members of our Youth Activity Board who will be providing the presentation for this evening.
Thank you, Joanne, and good evening, members of the Parks and Recreation Commission. I am thankful for the opportunity to be here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our Youth Activity Board President, and I will share my screen, and we will proceed with the presentation. Just give me one moment, please. All right, there we go.
Thank you. Hi everyone, we are the Cupertino Youth Activity Board, and first of all, we'd like to thank the Parks and Recreation Commission for the opportunity to share this information with all of you. We'd like to start off by quickly introducing ourselves. My name is Ishita Vimula. I am a junior at Cupertino High School, and I'm the president of the Youth Activity Board.
Hi, my name is Sarah Wan. I'm a junior at the Harker School, and I'm the vice president of the Youth Activity Board.
Hi, my name is Manasvi Loda. I'm a senior at Cupertino High School, and I'm the secretary of the Cupertino Youth Activity Board.
Hi, my name is Angela Zhang, and I'm a junior at Monta Vista, and I'm the communication specialist at the Youth Activity Board.
All right, to go over the agenda of today's presentation, we're first going to give a brief overview of the Youth Activity Board before going into a debrief of 2020 to 2021, and finally going over the programs and events we have planned for 2021 to 2022.
So really quickly, what is YAB? The Youth Activity Board was created in 2018 to further engage Cupertino teens and address the growing teen stress epidemic. YAB is a group of 13 teen volunteers who work with the Cupertino staff to create and plan events by teens for teens.
Our first event from the 2020 to 2021 year is Infotino. Infotino was a workshop series created as a way to virtually engage youth during the COVID-19 pandemic and provide them with some educational and life enrichment opportunities. All throughout the 2020 to 2021 year, YAB hosted 7 workshops which covered financial education, mental health and self-care, and a college crash course. Over 200 students attended the webinars, and YAB had the opportunity to partner with Key Point Credit Union, Elite College Prep, UC Easy, Edits for Good, Pass the Torch, and Counseling and Support Services for Youth, CASI.
Last February, the Cupertino Youth Activity Board, together with the Saratoga and Campbell Youth Commissions, launched a social media campaign centered around promoting kindness to their communities and practicing self-love. The campaign featured a joint Teen Kindness Week hashtag, a guess the location game which featured kindness chalk messages scattered throughout Cupertino, a self-kindness campaign highlighting the importance of self-care, and a Cards for Kindness campaign which collected messages for recology staff and medical staff at the Palo Alto Medical Foundation. The 3 teen leadership boards created the initiative to expand upon National Random Acts of Kindness Day and highlight the importance of kindness to the community and oneself during these times.
From June 26 to July 3rd of 2021, YAB hosted the award-winning Hack Cupertino for its 5th year. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the event was held virtually with all ceremonies taking place as webinars. New and experienced coders 13 to 18 years of age were invited to test their abilities and creativity as they addressed the secret theme, social justice. The theme was selected in response to the ongoing issues around the world and in the Bay Area. Actor, humanitarian, and activist Gabriella Wright provided words of encouragement for the hackathon participants and expressed her support for the city's hackathon event.
Now we'd like to shift the focus on events which the YAB has organized and is currently planning for this fiscal year.
Cupertino made a strong return this year and was YAB's first in-person event since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. On October 8th, over 200 students visited the Cupertino Civic Center to socialize, connect with local mental health resources, participate in safe recreation activities, and enjoy complimentary boba from Teaspoon. This was the first year the event had teen performances, which included a dance performance from the Korean American Student Association and the Cupertino High School Orchestra.
On Saturday, November 20th, the YAB, together with the Teen Commission, attended the Youth Advisory Committee, YAC Social, an event where youth commissions and teen leadership groups from the Bay Area can network, exchange ideas, and prepare for the YAC Attack Youth Leadership Conference. Over 90 teens across 12 cities visited Memorial Park and connected with their counterparts from around the Bay Area to socialize, share project ideas, and prepare for the biannual conference in March 2022.
To support students preparing for their midterm exams, the Cupertino YAB collaborated with city staff to host the Cupertino Cafe, an open community hall as a space for teens to study for their midterm exams. Local kitchens in Cupertino donated coffee and snacks for all studying students, and Flex College Prep provided complimentary tutoring for AP English, Math, and Science courses. Over 60 students were in attendance, and we're hoping to host another Cupertino Cafe in May 2022 for final exams.
Our first new ongoing activity is a MLK Jr. Dream Tree in honor of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy and Black History Month. City staff and a few of our YAB members collaborated with the Cupertino Library to have this installation in the lobby of the Cupertino Library. Community members are invited to complete the MLK Jr. Dream Tree with their dreams and aspirations by visiting the Cupertino Library and completing the phrase, "I have a dream," on pre-made leaves. Individuals who would like to turn in their dreams electronically are welcome to visit a special bit.ly link, which can be shared with the Commission after the meeting. The MLK Jr. Dream Tree will be installed from January 17th through February 28th, and electronic submissions will be taken until February 21st.
Together with the Teen Commission and 14 Bay Area Youth Commissions and leadership groups, the YAB will be attending the biannual Yak Attack on March 26, 2022 at the Los Altos Community Center. This year's March Madness theme and activities were selected at the Yak Social hosted by the city of Cupertino in November and will guide the event. Students will be able to attend workshops focused on leadership skills, networking tips, social media engagement, and further connect with their counterparts around the Bay Area.
Before we end, we'd like to share some of our other proposed ideas for the remainder of the year. The South Bay Fun Fest will see the YAB reunite with the cities of Campbell and Saratoga to plan a festival for teens and is tentatively planned for spring of 2022. We are also hoping to host a Spring Cupertino Cafe in time for final exams. Finally, in summer, we will be hosting the 6th year of Hack Cupertino and are planning to host a teen movie night for Cupertino teens. We'd like to thank the Parks and Recreation Commission for their time and giving us the opportunity to share our events with you.
Thank you so much. That was very informative, and it's a delight to see all the activities that you are planning. I'd like to open up for any questions from the commission before we take any public comment. Commissioners, do you have any questions for any of our Youth Activity Board members? I have one, and that has to do, Gopal, I'll get back to you. And that has to do with one of the activities that our commission put together last year was the Labyrinth Quest. And we had sent that out in a communication to the schools, and we were hoping that the Youth Activity Board could have been helping promote that. So I was wondering, were you aware of that? Did you do anything to promote the Labyrinth Quest?
Personally, I don't think we were too aware of that, so we did not do much to promote it. But if there's future events that are similar to it, we would be happy to promote it amongst teens.
Okay, good. Yeah, that one, I think we had a really great participation from the CUSD, and we were really hoping for more teen participation. So I think that's an opportunity for us to possibly work together. Commissioner Gopal.
Thank you, Chair. It's definitely a very, very impressive work you all have done, and then what you have it looks like, oh my God, I think we need to learn a lot of things from you on how you are coordinating it. That's fantastic. One quick question is that I think I just noted on many activities, and one which really caught my attention is the Random Act of Kindness one, which you all did with the Palo Alto Medical Foundation. And you said one point that was not clear is that you plan to do as a continuous, like every year? And I know you said that we will be celebrating it, and I'm trying to understand what's the plan. I know once you did it, and are you going to passing that baton to the next commission members, board members, or what is the plan on making it continuous?
So
that's a very good one. Yeah.
Oh yes, thank you. Last year, we had our partnered event with Saratoga and Campbell, and it was focused around kindness. This year, we are planning on something similar, but it's not exactly the same event. So what we are planning is the South Bay Fun Fest, which is going to be held in May. And it's like a carnival type event where teens can come to not only have fun, but we're also planning a mental health and kindness theme around that as well. So it's a similar idea for this year as well. And we are planning to maybe pass that out for a future of years that we do this event.
Excellent. Great. And I have one more question. I know you have done so many programs so far in this circumstances, and also you plan to have few more coming up. Have you faced any challenges with the current social distancing? And I know there is a conference coming up, you said in March. So what are the precautions you are taking it, or is there anything you need additional help, or you have faced any challenges?
One of the challenges that we faced in, I think, December of 2020, we were planning an event where teens can drive through the Cupertino library area and pick up boxes that are like self-care related, and it held like a lot of goods for people to use, like hot cocoa, notebooks, things like that. But I think that was when we entered into the purple tier zone for COVID, so we had to actually cancel that event completely. So that was definitely one of the challenges we faced, but we ended up, I think, changing that event a little bit more and refocusing it, and we plan something else for the coming months.
Okay.
To
thank
add
you.
on to Ashita really quickly, for the events so far this year when they're in person, and we've made sure that participants had their mask on and remain socially distanced. And I think as we move forward into more events in the future, we're very aware of like what the current pandemic is like. So we'll make sure to keep this in mind.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate it. Chair, that's it. I have comments, but I'll wait for that section.
Okay, Commissioner Tombe, do you have a question for the board?
I'm on mute. So excellent, you guys are doing excellent work. How can we support you guys in, creating these programs? What can we do to be more helpful?
Yeah, thank you for that. So we believe that the commission can assist in a couple of ways, like liking and sharing our YAB posts when they get posted on the city's Instagram, subscribing to the teen category in the city's e-notification, sharing our YAB events and opportunities with your networks, and if like you are your parent and part of the parent chat or PTA, sharing our events with more parents is also helpful. So essentially just like helping us gain more, a larger audience for our events.
Excellent. And then my second question is kind of piggybacking on that, which is we have a variety of programming that, both we and the department put together. What are kind of easy ways of engaging YAB when we're putting together those events? What are just good ways of getting in touch? What are ways that we can collaborate more? So like if we need help.
If it's okay, I can go ahead and chime in. Yeah, if there are opportunities of that nature, I mean, I can always siphon those types of requests and make sure that they get shared to the YAB.
Awesome, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if there are no other questions from the commissioners, I will go for public comment. And if there's anyone from the public who would like to comment on this agenda item, please raise your hand now. Okay, we have no public comment on that item. So I'll bring it back to the commissioners for additional comments. Please go ahead and raise your hand. Commissioner Tombe.
Yeah, I just wanted to say excellent work. You guys are really crushing it. And, compared to when I was a teen in Cupertino, there are so many more activities going on. So way to go. I think what you all are doing is really amazing. And then if I could just give one piece of feedback, which is continue to engage with the seniors. I know you guys have done projects in the past connecting with them, but the Senior Advisory Board is also really active. So there might be some partnerships there as well. But I think, everything you guys are doing is fantastic. It's a really big, it's a big task that you take on and you execute it phenomenally well. So well done. And I'm excited to see you guys continue in your civic path. And remember, you don't have to only be on YAB. You can also join other commissions as seats become available. You don't need to be just on YAB. You can be on any commission in the entire city.
Okay, Commissioner Gopal.
Yeah, great. So I just want to again echo what Commissioner Tambe said. This is great, and I don't think that if there is no COVID word there, I think people will say, "What? It's all normal." That's how I think you kind of adjusted to it, and then made so many programs, which like it keeps on coming. I thought maybe one and two, then you will stop, but looks like it's keep on. So it's good to see it. The only one thing which I really want to appreciate is that I really love the idea of the MLK Junior Tree program, which I think you said 17. That means it's already started, I believe, right, in the library. Now, that's great. And those leaves and stuff, I think I haven't seen so far anyone doing that like so that it is on everyone's face. So it'll be good once you finish everything, and then if there is no specific names attached to it, and then if it is okay, it'll be good to share all those dreams in general with us. In general, I think that would be an awesome one. This is a positive one. In this kind of situations, this is needed. And I'm sure that everyone will have a dream, and if you're capturing in a beautiful way, and then let the tree gets completely full. It's not a fall season; it is going to be a spring kind of. Let's make it in that way, and then I would love to see that one. That's an amazing idea. Really, very good job. Appreciate it.
Okay, Vice Chair Shu.
Yeah, thank you for the nice presentation. Yeah, there's a lot of fantastic activities, and I really hope, in the future we can help you to promote your program, or if you need any help, we can collaborate together. And I just checked the Youth Activity Board page on Cupertino website. Because I want to share the information with maybe my friends and my kids. But it looks like the submit online application linked to a expired survey. So maybe someone can fix it. So I can share the web page and hope more Cupertino students can join your program. That's very good. I believe a lot. It will benefit a lot. Yeah. To our residents and students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to echo the other commissioners' admiration for the work that you're doing, and our thanks. And keep up the good work. We love to see our youth. And I know Commissioner Tambe says, when she was growing up, that wasn't so long ago. And we've seen her grow up before our eyes on this commission for the last 8 years. So thank you very much for the presentation. That was very useful.
Yes, thank you so
Okay,
much.
moving on.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again for giving us this opportunity, and we really appreciate all of the help and the feedback that you guys have given us.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Moving on to our next agenda item is oral communication. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons who wish to address the commission on any item that is not on the agenda. So I will go to our public and see if there's anyone here who would like to raise their hand to address our commission tonight. And it looks like we are very fortunate tonight to have two former members of our commission joining us for oral communication. So I welcome first David Fung.
There, that actually worked. Hi, everybody. Madam Chairperson and Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm called in tonight to congratulate Commissioner Tambe on reaching your 8-year term limit on Parks and Rec. Nisha, it was fantastic. It was a pleasure working with you back in your first years on the commission. I've had the opportunity of working with many citizens on a number of different city organizations, but I thank you in particular for your impactful contributions in highlighting the perspectives of inclusion and equity that happened all the time. It's great to have that, to have the wider viewpoint. The heart of change comes from creating awareness, and you've really brought many new viewpoints over the years. The second part of change is showing up, and you've given so generously of your time toward the benefit of our city. And I really emphasize our here because you always have as well. You're a great model for public participation, and I hope you continue to stay engaged with the city in the future. We've all benefited from your contributions and look forward to more. I want to thank everybody on the commission for your service. the positivity and support that you offer to the community is really, really important, maybe more important now than ever than at any other time. And now, atypically, I'll stop talking. Thank you very much. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk tonight.
Wow, thank you, David. Leaving us a minute and a half left. Very impressive and obviously well-deserved comments. Our next speaker is Helene Davis. Welcome, Helene.
Hi there, everyone. It's really delightful to see a lot of familiar faces, but I'm really here to speak to Nisha and to thank her. Thank you, Nisha, for your 8 years of service on the Parks and Rec Commission. And I just want to say that it was really a pleasure serving with you back in the day, back in the before times on the commission. And just like David said, I always appreciated your insights and your perspective on things. And it was really refreshing to have a youthful voice on the commission. And I hope the city council keeps that in mind going forward. And, you know, we always were the fun committee. So anyway, Nisha, good luck to you with whatever you decide to do next. I'm sure whatever it is will be grand. And I hope to see you around town. And I'm even shorter than David.
Thank you, Helene.
You bet.
Thank you so much. I actually received another input for oral communications, and this is from Meenakshi Bayani, who could not participate with us tonight, but she also has a message for Commissioner Tombe. And her message is, Nisha, congratulations on completing 2 terms as a Park and Rec Commissioner and being the chair for multiple years. It was great knowing and working with you on the commission. I want to commend you for the hard work, dedication, and leadership you showed while on the commission. The community as a whole benefited from all your efforts. Best wishes for future endeavors. So that was from Meenakshi. So we'll see if we can get Nisha to cry sometime tonight. Right now, I don't see any other public comments for oral communications. I'm sure the commissioners may have additional comments at the end of the meeting, thanking Nisha. But right now, we'll move on from oral communications to written communications.
And a quick thank you to Helene and David and also Meenakshi for those kind words. Thank you. You almost got me there.
You're not done yet.
So for written communications, we've received we received in total 13 emails in regards to the, in support of the DOLA item as well. Well, it will be included for the record, but it's all in regards to the second item on the agenda.
Okay. Well, thank you. Moving on to old business. Subject is Commission of Proposals for the fiscal year 22-23 City Work Program. This was an item that we had started at our last meeting, but we did not complete it. And so we will hopefully complete it tonight. Director McGreeny, would you like to take over?
Yeah. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Joanne McGreeny, Director of Parks and Recreation. So we brought this item to the Commission on the December 2nd meeting, and where the Commission discussed the possible proposals for the 22-23 City Work Program proposals for City Council consideration. And at the end of the meeting, we had decided that we would come back with estimates for total staff time involved for each project and time that would be associated with whether or not we could get the particular objective done. And so we have listed that information in attachment B that was part of the packet. And that is what we will be reviewing and discussing tonight for final consideration to finalize and send to City Council. So I'm happy to have, I wanted to also note something that I lost sight of. So normally when we have a special meeting, we don't, our normal protocol is that we don't normally include the minutes from the previous meeting, that we do that at the regularly scheduled meeting. And I lost sight of the fact that it would actually be beneficial to include the minutes from the last meeting with this meeting. And so unfortunately, we didn't find out in a timely fashion in order to post it under the 24-hour posting. However, we did send it as a desk item for your reference. And so there are draft minutes as the desk item, as well as the written communications that were received from the December 2nd meeting as well for your reference. But happy to start the discussion and have Kevin share his screen so that, you know, we can further answer any questions associated with the information we gave as far as project time and timeline associated with the objective.
Okay, so just to reiterate, we can go through, commissioners have questions. I am going to go ahead and open it up for additional public comment tonight, even though we had public comment at our last meeting. We did not officially continue the item and say public comment was closed at our last meeting. So in the interest of allowing the public to comment, we will have public comment tonight as well. So why don't we go ahead into the commissioner question portion of this item. If you have questions, feel free to raise your hand. Commissioner Tombe.
Oh, so many. So I wanted to confirm that the request from City Council is to have up to 5 items in our top list, correct?
So no more than 5 and prioritizing the top 3 of the 5.
Do those 3 need to be in order 1, 2, 3, or is it just these are the top 3?
I think it would be helpful. The more information, the better, in my opinion, but I don't know if it's actually that delineated.
Okay, great. And then one of the other things is that historically, if something has been is not completed on a previous work plan, it automatically gets moved to the work plan. As I understand it, the Memorial Park improvements and Lawrence Mitty are exceptions due to the size, which is why they're being factored in. Is that still correct?
So I think what we had discussed last time is that these will be incorporated into the work program for next year, and that should just be taken into consideration when proffering the 5. My advice would be to include it in the 5, but if you don't decide to do that, we can certainly give 5 more. That is under your decision making tonight. I just thought it was helpful to give that information because there are already 2 items. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. And then the final question I had was around the where is it? The field use agreement item. I know that there's a lot of moving pieces with this, and that there are actually conversations happening now. Do we have a status update on that? Oh, you're on mute.
I'm sorry, I clicked it. It just didn't go off. Are you referring to the Regnart Elementary?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a little bit more information about this item. I followed up with public works staff after our meeting, and my understanding from the closure of Eaton School is that considering it was still part of the JUA, that they did work with us even though it was leased out for another purpose to another charter school, that we still manage the fields. So I would assume that it would be a similar process for Regnart, but I'm not totally 100% sure.
Okay. Also, fun fact, One World, I went to the One World when it was on the Eaton campus. And then the last question I have is about the Blackberry Farm golf course. What is the status of that project, and is that one of the rollovers?
Yeah, so we are going to bring an update on that project at our February meeting from the CIP group. And right now it is tracking in order to be done at the June-July timeframe. So okay. I wouldn't anticipate that it would get rolled over. And if it did, I wouldn't even suggest that it get put on the work program, because it would definitely be done within 2 or 3 months of past the deadline if it did need an extension. So it wouldn't need to necessarily go to the whole fiscal year. So that's why that's not included here.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Commissioner Gopal.
Great, thank you, Chair. Director, a couple of quick questions, maybe just more clarification so that we started on the baseline for today's discussion. And last time we discussed many things about carryover or not, and we did it. So again, I just see that the top two extra large projects has 2,000 plus hours on each one of them, right? That means it's 4,000 plus hours. So do we know that given the current staff hours, assuming that these are continuing, I'm just making one assumption, if it is 4,000 hours are being, do we know what is the left out hours of the staff time for the other 5 projects which you're going to prioritize?
Yeah, so it's an interesting conversation to have, and actually our interim city manager kind of went over this with the council when they had a discussion about the city work program. And what is interesting about city work program items is that usually the upper management is managing those projects and those programs, and that general operations kind of fall to other staff. So, it doesn't leave a whole lot of extra bandwidth to have extra projects. However, we're happy to, tackle anything that we possibly can, and just kind of, and that's the great thing about the work program is we update council quarterly. So we can say, hey, we haven't had enough time to address this and we've had to extend some deadlines. But I think that the way that the city work program is structured for the quarterly updates helps us stay on top of things and better, be better about tracking them and more realistic about what are we able to get done and what aren't we able to get done. So I think that right now with these 2 projects with Memorial Park and Lawrence Mitty, the hardest part for these 2 projects right now is there's going to be a lot of outreach that needs to happen. And a lot of that falls on Park and Rec to coordinate, even though they're CIP projects. So I think that's what we are just, we want to do a great job on those 2. And so we just want to be mindful of what else we're trying to do, considering these are huge priorities for the city.
Okay, great. So again, the rationale behind that question is, if you have these 2, if you include it, then do we still need to put 5 or 3? That was my question. Maybe I'm still not completely clear on it. We can do it. So I'm trying to understand, if we include these 2, should we still give 3 more? Assuming that we include this, we should give 3 more.
So I am leaving that decision up to the commission.
I see. Okay.
If you defer to give 5 different ones, I'm totally fine bringing those forward. And if you decide to include these 2 with the 5, that's fine as well. Whatever you guys decide, I will happily bring forward.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Okay, just to follow up on Commissioner Gopal's question, can you give us a sense of how you go about estimating the hours? Because I'm sure that's a very difficult thing to do.
It is actually. It's very, very cumbersome. With Memorial Park and Lawrence Mitty, there are definitely other departments involved, and vast amount of staff time from Public Works to CIP to the city attorney's office to communications and the PIO. And so taking all of that into consideration is part of the way that we do the estimates. The outreach portions of these projects, it requires us to put together information that needs to be disseminated to the public. And with both of these types of projects, they will be citywide outreach efforts. They're not going to be just, one specific area, like some projects that are only affecting a certain neighborhood because of the park that it's happening in. So they're quite robust. And so ensuring that we have web pages for the projects up and accurate, and tracking all of that information. That's how we came up with those estimates for those hours. I don't know if that answers your question, or if you have a follow-up maybe for that.
Yeah, so I do on, let's say for example, for the DOLA. I mean, we've done it now. And so did you use an sort of a template of how much did we spend before, and now that we've done it, what do we know now that we could take advantage of and use as a springboard in terms of hours?
Yeah, I think that the majority of projects of these types require coordination and outreach. So I think that that's, and we would have to put together, there was really no template that was put together in order to roll out this first DOLA. So I think that there is some work that's already been done, which is great. And so, you know, that's a starting point, but I still think that there's a fair amount of work that needs to be done from the outreach standpoint.
Okay, Commissioner Tombe?
So just one more question. The Housing Commission, one of the things the Housing Commission is tasked with is the new software that they have to help citizens determine where they want to expand or where citizens would like to see build happen. Are we at all working with them? If so, in what capacity? Because they're like in the beginning of the design phase, and normally these kinds of things end up in Parks and Rec after the fact rather than in the design phase. So I was just wondering where we were with that.
So you're referring to the housing element?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are actually having a presentation to the Senior Advisory Council on Monday about the housing element, and we are definitely in, you know, talks with staff from the community development department. But yes, definitely something we need to focus on at the get-go and be more involved and understand.
Yeah, because Main Street I can talk about later. But okay, great. Good to know that that's involved.
Okay, I just wanted to make note, it appears that Vice Chair Shu has stepped out. She had an engagement that she needed to go to for the next 30 to 40 minutes. So just noting that we still do have a quorum with Commissioner Tombe, Commissioner Gopal, and myself. So hopefully she will return, and we will continue with the meeting. Commissioner Tombe?
I have one more question / clarification question, Chair. The next segment after questions is an opportunity for public comment. Am I correct in my understanding that that is the only time the public can make a comment on this agenda item? For this meeting, they can go to City Council, but for this meeting.
Yes, right, for this meeting. So this is their opportunity. They had an opportunity at the last meeting. We are opening this item for public comment again at this meeting, and we expect to complete our discussion with our recommendation after public comment tonight and send it off to City Council, and then it will be moved to City Council, and the public can go ahead and continue to their lobbying and advocacy work with the council.
Great.
Does that answer your question?
I wanted to make sure that they knew that this is the time to speak if you wanted to say something. Okay, great.
Okay, if there are no other questions right now for the director, I will open it up for public comment. If you would like to make a comment on this item tonight, please raise your hand now. I see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 members of the public. Right now we only have 2 hands raised. I did get an email from Mary Ellen Schell that she would like to cede her time to Louise. And Mary Ellen, if you would still like to do that, I'm allowing you to talk. Can you please confirm that to us? You can unmute yourself. Mary Ellen, are you there? You're still on mute. Okay. So we'll see if there's anyone else who would like to cede their time to Louise or one of the other speakers. Please let me know. Okay, we will go to the first person on the list with their hand up is Gary. Gary, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, sorry. Hi, this is Gauri. I would like to give Louise my time as well.
Okay, super. Then we can move on to Louise. Louise, with Gauri's time, hopefully that will be sufficient for you. So can we put 6 minutes on her time? Super. Go ahead, Louise.
Thank you. Thank you to the commissioners, to Joanne, Carol, and the city staff for making all this possible. I am one of the leaders of the community of DOLA supporters. We would like the creation of new DOLAs to be given a high priority by this commission. New DOLAs were not on the city work plan for 2021 to 2022. The Jollyman DOLA work was completed only because it was already on the Parks and Rec work program from the previous year. If new DOLAs are not given a high priority by the commissioners for recommendation to City Council for the 2022 to 2023 city work program, this will mean, despite fervent community pleas for support, there will be no work done on any new DOLAs for 2 years. So my first point is that new DOLAs need to have a high priority, because otherwise there will be no work on any new DOLAs for 2 years. More DOLAs need to be formed throughout Cupertino to enable nearby residents to walk their dogs to and from a close DOLA rather than driving to a distant DOLA. This complies with the Cupertino's policy of encouraging residents to walk, as well as improves residents' mental health by giving them an outdoor opportunity for community engagement. That's my second point, that more DOLAs need to be formed throughout Cupertino to enable nearby residents to walk their dogs to and from a close DOLA for exercise and mental health. Next, the staff report of proposed prioritization states only 1 new DOLA per year. This has never been previously discussed nor proposed. No other project that was presented has been assigned a limit of 1. Most DOLAs can be done in the same year for under 2,000 city staff hours, the upper limit for a large project as defined by the staff. And staff has already classified the DOLA project as a large project. The DOLA community is self-forming, self-regulating, and provides the bulk of the DOLA work and data. The city needs to show leadership on this issue by providing a quick and easy path for residents to set up additional DOLAs. Therefore, point 3 is multiple DOLAs should be allowed to petition for trial in the same year. We also need more DOLA sites and their data before standardization for future DOLAs. Every DOLA site will have its own unique set of issues, including location, configuration, dogs, etc. Because of this, it is too early to standardize the rules regarding the DOLA programs. Right now, the city only has data from 1 DOLA. That is insufficient. So my fourth point is more data from multiple DOLAs is needed before standardization rules can be developed. DOLAs and Labyrinths are the only 2 projects on the current list of priorities that have significant driven support and outreach behind them. Since DOLA and the Labyrinth are both community-driven projects, there is a natural synergy in combining them into one project. This leads to my final and most important point. I urge you to adopt the following as one of the Commissioner's top 5 priority projects for the 2022-2023 City Work Program. Project: facilitate community-driven projects such as DOLA and Labyrinth. Project objective: enable the community to expand and increase these low overhead projects while maintaining and creating involvement opportunities for students and residents. So we would really want the commission to consider putting the community-driven projects as one project, the Dolas and the Labyrinth, and to enable the commissioners to facilitate these community-driven projects because your support and facilitation is critical, because otherwise no new Dolas will be formed if we are not on the city work list. And that will not happen without your recommendation. Thank you to all the commissioners and city staff for the hard work you do on behalf of our beautiful city. And sincerely, thank you, Tambe, for your wonderful participation, brain and voice in all that you have done. And thank you to all for what you have done to make our Dolas possible and our city beautiful. I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much, Louise. Our next speaker is Deepa. Deepa, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Hey, good evening, Parks and Recreation Commissioners, as well as Director of Parks and Recreation Department. I am, as you might expect here, to kind of re-emphasize that DOLA is very near and dear to many community members. You will be amazed at the numbers of people who are using our official DOLA, but you'll also be surprised at the number of unofficial DOLAs going around in the city if you were to take a visit to the parks during the evening hours. The reality is, I am already spearheading another unofficial DOLA in Memorial Park, and we have at least 2 other similar ones going on. Our goal is not to remain unofficial for 2 years. Our goal is not to be breaking the law for 2 more years. Our goal is to just make the community happier and be able to partake in something that they're passionately involved in a legal and safe manner. The DOLA at Jollyman Park still remains the one and only one that is approved for official use. But dogs are not limited to just this one area. And we have had a huge increase in dog population in general. They've been actually helping a lot of people during COVID times, right? I've seen people adopt dogs left, right, and center. And I've had my own niece who adopted a cat because she could not adopt a dog. She went through a fair amount of personal turmoil last year where she lost her father, my brother, and she was going through mental depression, and it pretty much turned her around to adopt a cat. She honestly wanted to adopt a dog, but that's just besides the point. I want to just put it out there as a personal incident, right, that kind of gives you an overview of how important it is and how passionate it is. Coming back to the topic, this is a grassroots-driven, community-driven project. Make it a priority. Do not make us wait 2 years. Do not do it at the slow pace of $1 a year. You do need to expand. I don't know about the number of hours. I don't know about how long it takes. But if the community is so passionately asking, sending emails and requesting and pleading for something like this, I do not see why the city is not hearing us. I don't get it. You are here to help us, right? So please do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepa. There is still one hand up, and that was Gary, but Gary ceded her time to Louise, so I think we can take her hand down. And at this time, I do not see any other hands up for public comment. So I will bring it back to the commissioners. Commissioners, would you like to make any comments at this time? Commissioner Tambe, thank you.
Well, let's get this discussion started.
Thank you.
The Memorial Park project is really big, and the Lawrence Mitty project is, very, very large. Right now, on the short list that we came up with last time, we have 7. I briefly spoke to, and I was going to give this in my commission update, but I don't think that's on the agenda. So I will share it here, I guess. But we, during one of the commission updates to the mayor, I got some clarification on this, and he had said that it's preferred to get more info than less info, and then they can make the ultimate call. So kind of with that in mind, I would prefer to give 5 options to City Council rather than 3. So maybe we can start from there.
Okay. Commissioner Gopal, do you have any comments? I'll go ahead. I would like to thank the director for adding the minutes from the last meeting, even though those weren't in there originally. I really appreciate that those did get to us. I think the fact that we have already discussed this one and put forward some thought on it, and we even saw where was the initial motivation and support. And I think in those minutes you listed a number of different items, but you didn't show the level of support as we had expressed it. Although it wasn't a final tally, but the item that got the most support was the Labyrinth. The next one was DOLA's, and behind that was working to make sure we do whatever we can to continue to use Regnard Field. So those were the top 3 that we had discussed at our last meeting. So I did want to make sure that we refreshed everyone's memory about that, and the fact that there was substantial support from the full commission for those particular items. Commissioner Gopal?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, again, going back to, I think some of the comments Commissioner Tombe made as well. Question on, look like a dollar, for example. I know we just heard from the public and then all the written communication. So, when I look at it, if I remember last time, the DOLA one, right now it's been qualified into a large project compared to the other one, which is the mental health one with the coordination with the WCA is a medium. So, because that's the first time we are starting or we are actively going to work on it. Whereas the DOLA, if I remember correctly, we talked about it saying that it's already done, we have a template, we have a framework, we are going to utilize the public who currently just spoke about it there. And our effort would be just giving the framework, make sure that they operate within and just monitor kind of, rather than we do a lot of outreach activity. So based on those comments, whatever, I thought it would fall either in a small or a medium kind of, because I'm just looking at the number of hours. And right now I see as a large, close to 2,000 hours compared to the other ones we have on a one. So that's what it is kind of surprising me to at this point. Maybe there may be a reason behind it, Director. So because if you have to prioritize any of these projects, I think we will be mindful of the staff hours, and I'm sure that we don't want to pack with extra large, all of them. So that's definitely not going to be. But now that would become a bottleneck on this particular line item, and I like to understand, compared to the mental health one, how come this could become a large where the other one is a medium? For me to get educated.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So just as was handled with the DOLA at Jollyman Park, there's notification that needs to go out to the community, the surrounding community, to let them know that there's a trial going on and to notify them. There's also signage that needs to be posted at the park to alert all park users of what's happening and what is happening where. And so again, it's a lot of coordination with the Public Works Department and the grounds crew, as well as communications department. We have to facilitate calls and information from residents. So it seems like it's a low amount of work, but it's actually heavily involved in the outreach portion, not just from understanding where these need to be rolled out, but communicating with the public that they are being rolled out, collecting that information. Just like Louise had indicated, not all parks are the same, and there are different requirements and different things that need to be addressed in different parks. And so I think that all of that needs to be taken into consideration. When we're talking about standardizing, we're not saying this is the cookie cutter, this is what works for every park, because we certainly agree that won't work. But figuring out the framework of how to roll this out in order to be able to facilitate more doulas in the city, because that's certainly, we hear it loud and clear. We know that they're wanted, and we are trying to support that as well. It's just we have to do it in a way that makes the most sense operationally to do that.
Okay. Yeah, maybe as part of the discussion, I think, Chair, we will talk about when we do it. But I think this particular one, I'm trying to see opportunities for us to collaborate and pull in more community support or the tasks, whatever we said, that is there a way that we can include the community so that they're ready to do it, many things, and is there a possible so that we can reduce. The only concern is it is a large project, means it is going to weigh in compared to the other projects, period. Even though, yes, we wanted to do it, when it comes to the large size of it, with the 2 extra larges and this, even if it stands in the top 3, I'm not sure whether this will fit into the existing staff hours. That's the only concern I have, especially when it is in the large item. Maybe I'll stop here now. Maybe when we start prioritizing it, what it is, maybe that'll come into picture. So for now, I'll hold my thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, on that, just to complete on that, I guess what I'd like to see is a challenge of how can we do this to make it easier on staff with fewer hours. What can we do to minimize it rather than it being somewhere up to a full person year's time? How do we leverage and bring the community in and say, give us a proposal similar to what we did at Jollyman? And I don't want to define it here. Clearly, that's not what we should do, but we should be looking at it as this should be a smaller project. And that is the goal, is that it should be smaller in scope. It should be bringing input from the community where community members want it, and then assessing a particular area, and then doing the notification, whatever. But if you look at, and I didn't ask Louise, but from what I've seen, there are at least 20 people out at the dog park every day. And if you think if there's 20, 25, 30 people with their dogs spending an hour there every day, that is 100 person hours a week of community enjoyment that is being derived from one doula. And so I think the upside of putting in those hours is definitely balanced with the way the community is responding. I'd also like to highlight that where have we seen community input on priorities for us? And we have seen again and again and again that the DOLA people have submitted emails, they've had meetings with staff, they've had meetings with commissioners, they have come to our commission meetings, they have sent emails, multiple ones, they have spoken at our meetings. And do we see that kind of enthusiasm for any other project? I think it is a very high important item for the community, and I think that's our role as a commission, is to reflect the community desires. So I'm leaning very strongly to make sure that that is a high priority from this commission, that the council hears that from us, and that somehow we find a way with staff to not make it be a huge project, a large project, but to minimize the time and to find, I'm not saying cut corners, but I'm saying to make it be as efficient as possible. And that may be looking very specifically at a particular proposal or whatever. So that's my comments on the DOLA. Commissioner Tombe?
So kind of echoing that, we actually did this with the community garden project, where we had this, really large outlaid plan, and then we condensed it so that we could break off and have the satellite community gardens. So I know that these things are modifiable. I think what might be interesting is, as we're thinking through these projects in the future, is like factoring in, and even for our plan today, for our work plan, is a community engagement section. That's like if there's like a threshold that we can get X number of people in the community to participate in creating a project, then that will like automatically be given time on our calendars, because it has the support of the community from like a time perspective, which I think is something easily we could do with the DOLA program. The one, I guess my main question here is, for, I guess, Carol and Gopal, is do y'all want to do 3 total, 5 total, or, and if we do 5 total or 3 total, do you want to include the other 2? Just because in my head, that's how I'm going to stack rank stuff. If we're not including those first 2, the 2 big ones, Memorial Park and Lawrence Mitty, then my 5 will be basically the rest of the 5. But if we are including those 2 and we're doing 5, then my stack rank is going to be different. So I just want to know, kind of get a feel from the 2 of you. Do you want to do 3 and 5, and then if you want to do 5 or 3, do you want to include Memorial Park and Lawrence Mitty in there? My vote would be do 5, but include Memorial Park and Lawrence Mitty.
Commissioner Gopal?
Yeah, so we talked about it again. I think we're going back. I agree, Commissioner Tombe, on that. Because since it is extra large project, by including it, I'm sure that it's going to take away many things. If you're including it, anyway, it's okay. If we include it, we will give anyway still 5, right? I think I just want to make sure that we will provide a 5, assuming that those 2, it's all in progress, and I'm not sure what the priority we will put it. I may not put the number 1, number 2 priority. If we don't put it, will it really halt? Assuming that a lot of things are in progress, and halting some of the things which is in progress has a much more detrimental effect than doing the other one start, right? Because some of the things you should continue. But so that's the part I'm not clear. Out of those 2 extra large projects, it is an operational right now. It's in motion. So I don't want to put it in the bottommost, because if I put it as a bottommost, I'm not sure the city council will come back and say, oh yeah, stop one of those things. Let's do it later, kind of. I doubt. So invariably, those 2 will go back to the top again. And that means we end up with anyway 3. So including of those 2 will last to eliminate the other 2s to getting into the list. That's all I'm thinking. So if you ask me, my personal opinion would be exclude those 2, because I don't know whether we have a control to stop anything in progress in between, and the effects we don't know. Especially I don't know the after effect of it, anything getting stopped if it is in progress. So my thing is that take the rest 1, prioritize 5, and give it top 3 within that. And I think, I'm sure that it will go as extra large should continue, then they will pick the top 3. That's what I'm thinking. So that would be my thing. Exclude those 2 and prioritize 5. And within that, as director asked, give the top 3. That would be my input. But I'm open for any other comments from chair, and then we can work through it. I don't want to put this as a big challenge.
Okay. So the way I'm looking at it is, do we really have 5 additional priorities to add in here? And when I look at the way the commission was giving their support at our last meeting, there were really 3 that popped up to the top. And so I'm not sure what else there would be. And so it seems to me that if we do those 3, and maybe we have 2 separate buckets. We say these 2 large things, we understand those are important, and those are our going. So they're on our list. But our other 3, and not to try to compete with those 2, but to give our top 3 of other things we want to get done, because we know those big things are going to get done, and they're going to, and we want to work on them. We want staff to work on them. So we don't want to minimize them, but we don't want those to overwhelm other things. And we should be able to do big things and little things it seems to me. Sometimes I think that when we look at big projects, we start to think that, oh, well, that's going to take all of our time. Sorry, lost my ears, but that's going to take so much time. But we should be able to add in smaller things so that we have progress that we can show. Director McGreeny, go ahead. Welcome your input.
So yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I would say that one of the challenges with this process is that you don't get the whole scope of everything that's going on, right? And that's the challenge for you all to make your decisions. That's the challenge for City Council. And so I just want to give a little bit more information about what we have going on in our department right now. And the biggest challenge is we have CIP projects. And what's interesting is some CIP projects show up on the city work program and some don't. So in addition to the city work program items, we have Jollyman all-inclusive playground design, which is also going to require an exorbitant amount of outreach and coordination and input from the community. We will also continue with two other projects that require outreach through CIP, and that's the playground equipment upgrades at different parks, as well as the park amenity improvements. And so I would say that in a normal city, you have maybe one park project on the CIP list because a lot of cities don't have the funding available to do all the things that Cupertino is quite actually well set to be able to do. And so I feel like we've kind of bit off more than we can chew with the last year that we've had coordinating all these CIP projects. And what I'm trying to actually get to the bottom of is this is not a normal year for us. And so normally I would say, you could do 5 projects of any of these scopes that you're putting together and offering for this upcoming fiscal year. I would just say it's an anomaly how many things we have that we're working on with the CIP group and large community parks, Jollyman, Lawrence Mitty, and Memorial Park all require a lot of effort to coordinate sports teams that use those parks, youth sports organizations, festivals that use the parks, logistics, signage. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it. I know I'm putting it all in the bucket of community outreach, but it's notifications, it's coordination with public works, it's coordination with communications. And so it's not normal, but I would just take that into consideration when you're making these decisions. So I try to always come from a place of yes. I never want to come from a place of no. I think all of these things are important, and I think we should be working on all of these at some point in time. And whatever we can fit in, we will certainly try to do, whether it's on the work program or not. For example, a facility use agreement, if push comes to shove and Regnart is closed, we're certainly going to work with the school district to ensure that the JUA is updated or that we are negotiating for the field use. So I don't want you to waste your vote on that because I think it will happen no matter what, whether it's on the work program or not. And I don't want to say waste, but I would definitely focus on what you think is the most important for this fiscal year for their consideration, because there will be a lot of other things that are coming from other commissions for their consideration as well. So just trying to be mindful of that. So I hope that helps give some context to this year. I know that's not great news. It is great news. We're going to get awesome parks. But that just is helpful in trying to see the whole picture, I think.
Okay, thank you, Director McGreeny. I'd like to welcome back Vice Chair Hsu. And just to give you a little bit of a recap of what you missed. So we've been discussing how many priorities we might be able to put forward and whether the 2 extra large projects that we know will be ongoing should be part of our prioritization of 3 or 5 items. And the discussion that we've been having is, we really, so there are some people who would want to give 5. We expect that those 2 will be required. My suggestion was to separate out those 2 that we know were important, so the council doesn't say, oh, those are the top 2 and the others are less important for for the commission, we know we will be working on those two particular things and possibly have 3 additional ones. We could potentially have 5 other ones if we ignore them completely, but maybe a compromise position is to have 5 that includes those 2 extra large ones, but to keep them sort of separate and to identify our 3 top priorities away from those 2 extra large projects. We also did hear from the public, a number of very passionate speakers, all in favor of ensuring that DOLAs are on our priority, with the concern that if they are not, that additional progress won't happen. And so they were very passionate about that. And I did make the comment of the commission's role as listening to community members, and the community members that we have heard from the loudest and very polite always, but consistently, month after month, year after year, has been the DOLA users. And so I think that we should definitely take that seriously into account. That is our role. If any of the other commissioners would like to, if I missed anything, feel free, or go ahead and add to the discussion. Commissioner Gopal.
Yeah, I think, Chair, after listening to you now, which you nicely summarized, and what Director mentioned, that a lot of things are happening which we may not have a preview into it, I think I'll try to, again, I'll recommend, again, it's my recommendation, of course, we will go with it. Definitely, we should separate those 2 as you originally proposed, so let's keep that. In the other, we have only 5, and then we can stack rank them, but we will pick the top 3. That's it, because still the other 2 will be there in case if we have any time, and I'm sure that we will make Director Joanne to say yes to all of them. We'll make sure, we'll nudge her on the side. So if we could just stack rank the other 5, and then only we'll give the top 3, because there's no need for, because only 5 is left. There are totally 7. If we separate these 2, we have only 5, and then we'll just stack rank them and pick the top 3, and we will draw the line there. And if at all, if magically if they have more time, then they can go to the 4th and 5th. But I would like to go with that approach too. So I'm fully aligned with it.
Okay. The other comment, just for Vice Chair, I did review the way the support that was voiced at our last meeting on the items for Labyrinth projects that received support from all of the commissioners, all 5. The DOLA received support from 4. The Regnart field use received support from 3. And then mental health received support from 2. And I think part of that was that we see that there are other opportunities that mental health well-being will be incorporated in certain ways. The long-term plan received 1 vote of support, and the dashboard did not get any. So that was the support that I wanted to make sure we reviewed, that we expressed at our last meeting. That was not intended to be a final decision. It was intended to be a springboard for discussion. Commissioner Tombe.
Yeah, so just speaking to that, I'm fine with stack ranking. I want to revisit the long-term strategic plan item. We spent 6 years and literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to create our Parks and Recreation System Master Plan. And last year we had said we would divide it up into short-term and long-term, and we only got to the short-term part. But it's been marked as something that we've completed because we've gone through, it's like, it's going to happen every year, but it's not actually achieving the very thing that the Parks and Recreation Master Plan was intended to do, which was look at parks in total and actually identify which parks should be focusing on which specific elements. So be that a meditation garden or, or like the healing garden or, even all-inclusive playgrounds before it's time, or even, DOLA, all that stuff can be looked at comprehensively and looking at this long-term strategic plan, because what I'm nervous of is that we'll be making incremental differences in parks, and hydration stations and benches, they're really important, but we have to look at the big picture. And there's so many residents who put their time and energy into responding to all these surveys that we did for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. And now I feel like we've kind of especially with Gail not being here, we've kind of deviated from that. So I would just say it would be a really critical part to make sure that we're not getting lost in one-off projects, but we actually have a strategic plan, a long-term strategic plan for these parks, and then decide hey, we might not do it right now. This might be a 5-year from now project, but we know that in 2027, we're going to start working on the healing garden in this particular park, or we are going to install 2 basketball courts in this particular park. We don't have time for it now, we don't have funding for it now, but we're going to plan out where these things will go so that it's not just these short incremental things. I just want to make sure, because we haven't even started talking about the aquatic, what lap swim was one of the top rated things that people wanted in the master plan. Basketball courts. We had just so many things, and now I feel like DOLA also falls under that, which is that it's so important that we look at it comprehensively and not just individual parks at a time. So that's one of the things that I would just like to advocate for with the long-term strategic plan, because it did get lost last year. We had some meetings about the short-term strategic plan, and then we had 2 agenda items, but we never actually got to the long-term part. And because we have so much on our plate, I just want to make sure that we're looking at the long-term, especially while we have the Memorial Park Improvement and Lawrence Mitty Park, because if we're designing 2 big parks and we're not thinking about all of the other parks in the city in conjunction with that, then we could be either squeezing too much in one park or not putting the right thing in these right parks that we're developing, because different parks have different capacities and different needs, which we saw when we were doing short term. So I really think that's something that we need to make sure we start looking at comprehensively and strategically. So that would just be my pitch for the long-term strategic plan.
Okay, Vice Chair Shu, welcome back.
Oh, hi. Actually, in last 40 minutes, I joined, use my iPhone to join as a participant.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was still listening, but just I didn't.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yeah, and I heard all the speakers, support DOLA Park. Yeah, and I know that the community really in front of it. Yes, and. For the, I remember in our last meeting, we voted for these projects, and the first 3 is Labyrinth program or similar nature play project, and the DOLA and the field use agreement of regular elementary school. But I just realized, so in our form, in addition to the 2 major projects, we have 5 items, and the 3 got the highest vote. It looks like we can do that in short term. And the 2 got lowest vote. One is a mental health or partnership with West Valley, and the other long-term strategic plan. These 2 looks like they are not so specific as the other 3. They're most like some long-term one. And maybe if we want to work on the mental health project, maybe we need to get it more specific, and then we can really work on it. So I'm thinking maybe in our recommendation, we can put the 3 projects with highest vote in addition to the 2 major projects, because they are very specific. We can start to do that this year. And the other 2, that's also some very good idea. I really like the idea, like the healing garden and those programs. And I think they are also aligned with, I remember our city council mentioned maybe add more inclusive playground elements in more than one park. Those elements, they also help with mental health. They are very good idea, but the mental health and the long-term strategic plan, maybe we can mark them as long-term. We can still include it in our recommendation to council, but it's different from the other 3. Yeah, that's just some idea.
Okay, I'm so glad that you were able to continue to listen. I appreciate that a lot. Commissioner Gopal.
So the only challenge I have in the long term, which Commissioner Tombe, you said, I totally agree on it, but since it's all clubbed together, and still it's large only, because when I look into it, if we have to do all of them in the long-term strategic plan in it, it'll be extra large. Like definitely if you could start doing it, but it is grouped as it is just efforts is only large, but I'm sure that it has many sub-projects within the long-term strategic plan. I assume some of them got peeled off from that, like DOLA, as you said, and others are coming out, and then it gets more voice and then more support, and we are doing it. It would be great if I just parse those long-term strategic plan items into separate line items, then it will be helpful for us. Right now, we are in a flux, given the current staff load and others the director mentioned. It is very hard for me to, again, I'm not saying that why I'm not prioritizing, but I say there are too many projects within the long-term strategic plan. It's very hard to put an effort and say, out of which one, if I prioritize, and within that, which one they have to do it, it's going to be very micro level management in it. That's what I feel it. Unless otherwise, if it is listed out like dollar, and then you have a healing garden and a separate line item, that would have helped. That's why I'm finding it very difficult to say that, oh yeah, it is just for the sake of adding it a 3 lineup, let's put it there. I'm sure that the staff will come back and say, that's a really large projects, because we do not know within that which you want to prioritize. They will come back. So I'm getting into the dilemma of that it is clumped everything into one, and that's what the challenge it is. I would love to have it if it is separated out. I love the healing garden and other things, even the all-inclusive plans. So that's the real pain for me too. I want to help and I want to put in there, but I couldn't because I know that it is impossible. And it's a large project. It's only large project, which I'm doubtful how we are going to achieve it. So that's a dilemma I have it to before make any call on it. Maybe director can throw some lights onto it, and I think that would help me, at least personally, to make the right call.
Yeah. So my feedback on how we came to this project size and the time associated. When we talk about estimated time for prioritization process, we think that we can go through all the different opportunities. I think there are 22 that are suggested in the master plan, and we can prioritize what ones are the most important. Is it an aquatics facility upgrade? Is it inclusive elements at parks? Is it water play features? They're all designated. And so we think that, and actually, if you look at our strategic plan that we put together on the website, we categorized it in 2 different ways. We did it by park, and then we did it by opportunity. And so I think that if we can follow a format similar to that, we could work through it. But that was a very large endeavor and time and labor intensive because of all the data analysis. And, we have one management analyst for this department, and there is constant information that needs to be brought to council and staff as well about, statistics on field use and all kinds of things. And so it is very labor intensive to have these kind of happy to do it, but that is how I looked at managing that particular one. I think getting more into specifics about the projects associated with those priorities would be like the second year of that process, if that makes sense. That was my interpretation. I don't know if that's exactly how it came across, but that's how we interpret.
Okay, so thank you, Director. Sorry, Chair, I just wanted to just feedback on that comment. So that means that this is nothing but a prioritization exercise. There's no execution, correct? I just want to make sure.
I interpret it as a planning process.
Okay, so you want to plan and prioritize. Hopefully the next year situation improves, and I think we know what to pick up right away so that we can do it. Okay, now that makes it clear. So other things are ready to execute. This one is, hey, I need to plan before even I get into execution. So if that's the work, that's a large work, then I can buy that kind of an effort estimate, and then I know how I can make a call on this one. Thank you, Director, for clarifying it.
So just a further question on that. So is this something that is ongoing, that you're addressing the master plan? I know that Gail Steeds was really a key employee in that in that role? And maybe you can correct me if there's other staff that is doing that, or are you looking to hire additional staff? Can you just sort of give us an insight into that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are constantly referring to the master plan, and it is our roadmap. We don't do anything without looking at what has been prioritized at those parks. And quite frankly, there are a lot of suggestions per park about what things can be done in the short and the long term within the master plan. And so we refer to that before kind of making any kind of moves, but would be very helpful to know what your priorities are as far as those different opportunities go. Certainly, we're adding different recreational opportunities, right, with pickleball and outdoor table tennis. We're implementing a full-size basketball court at Wilson. We're doing a community garden at Wilson. We're doing inclusive play elements at our equipment replacement at the Creekside location, in addition to the all-inclusive playground. I think there are going to be opportunities for the community to weigh in on what their priorities are when it comes to Lawrence Mitty and what will be designed there, as well as what is a priority to be done at Memorial Park. But all that, we will take all the information that we have in that document as a starting point to have those discussions. And that's how we've been utilizing the DOLAs are in there as well. Opportunities to collaborate with the school district in different ways. Field use is in there. And so we've actually made a whole lot of progress if you look at the document that we put together. But I realize that you want to keep making progress. And so obviously so do we. And that's, if we can prioritize what the different opportunities are for the commission, that would be helpful to strategize about what future CIP projects we are able to either qualify for, grants, that kind of thing. So it's definitely a planning tool. Definitely something we want to do. Again, I just don't know if it's feasible to do that in a year where we're doing all these other things. So,
Kevin, just to bring it back, could you put up the slide that describes the projects? And I'm thinking that we may want to look at the way the projects are described, and to see if we need to, if those descriptions adequately support what we're suggesting. So if we look at this, just to take the one at the top, standardize the process to create DOLA trial programs, expand, increase, and implement more DOLA programs throughout the city. I think, so that there was some concern that that is trying to make it cookie cutter and define what a DOLA is. And so maybe we need to modify the description, the objective, so that it's more clear what we're asking is rather than this be staff driven, I would like for it to indicate that this is, respond to community requests and evaluate DOLAs per community, input. And so that if a group has an opportunity that they come forward, just like the Jollyman group did. I mean, when we did this, it worked so smoothly because we didn't try to bite off the whole city at once. And so as a group comes forward, evaluate and propose and support DOLAs as they come forward, as they're proposed to the city, something along that line. And then I'm not sure what the limitation here, the value is of no more than 1 year, depending on outreach and proposed locations. It seems like that's going to be a function of what staff can do. And if we can make it more streamlined, then maybe we can do more, and we'll learn as we go, and hopefully, be able to respond more. Commissioner Gopal.
Yeah, I agree, Chair, but I think there is one reason why we put a standardize. Maybe standardize the process may not be the right word. We discussed that we need to provide a framework because we learned a lot through this exercise and Jollyman. So based on the inputs we both, the community and the our city staff and us, we learned it. What's working, what's not working, all those trials throughout, we learned it. But those lessons learned should be made available to others because there are many people will come. So that's what we thought. We will provide a kind of a framework in that they can just to go ahead and collaborate within the framework. It's a guardrails we need to provide them and say these are the ways, and still we will wait for the request, but they need to make sure that there is a framework within it. Otherwise, the staff has to go through the same problem and they may have to go through the same issue because maybe some of the DOLA leaders here are talking about one or two, but what happens if somebody else from the completely other ones leads it? They will start all over, and we need to tell them or teach them and bring them awareness that, oh, this didn't work when tried it kind of. So that's why we thought cities should provide a framework, a governance model within which they can operate, but without which it is going to be, again, all over, starting over. That's what the reason we put in there. It may not be a standard process, we will just put it there, but to provide a framework within that they can operate, and it is not a rigid one. It can go a little bit here and there based on the situation, based on the park size, and based on what it is, but without which it is going to be a completely restart, and they will go back to square one for everything. That's only fear I have it if you don't provide a framework.
Commissioner Tombe, where'd you go?
Yeah, so that was actually my, I'm going to echo that, so I don't want to repeat it. I think having no more than one per year, depending on outreach, because if it is a large time commitment, and we can have 3 things, 3 new DOLAs next year, then maybe the next, the following year, we don't do as many DOLAs because we have other, priorities. So I don't want to commit to it necessarily being I don't want to commit to saying no more than 1 per year. I think we can have 2, but I also want to be mindful that it shouldn't exceed, maybe it doesn't exceed more than 2, or it doesn't exceed more than 3, just because it does take a lot of staff time to go through. There are liability issues here that we can have the community report out, but there's still going to be a level of staff involvement that we're going to have. So maybe putting a cap on it. I do think it could be a multi-year project, but yeah, that would just be my hesitation with that, with removing the 1 per year, because then if every other park in Cupertino comes forward with the same pattern, and they're like, okay, we did all the check marks, that's going to take up all staff time if it becomes a part of the work program without that kind of caveat. So I don't necessarily think it should be 1 per year, but I do think we need to see some kind of process to make it a standardized process, but then also if it's standardized, then we need to figure out how, if the onboarding is rapid enough, then, can they do 10 in a year? So that's my only, I want to see more DOLAs, but I just don't really know the best way to go about it.
So I guess looking at these, do we want to, decide which are our top 3 apart from the extra large ones, and then work on what they actually say and make sure that we're comfortable with that? Does that sound like a good? Okay, I see a thumbs up there. No, Nisha, how would you like to proceed?
I want to actually go with Commissioner Gopal's recommendation of putting the top 2 aside, because they're going to happen, and then going forward with giving all 3, but stack ranking them.
Oh, I think that's consistent with what I was saying.
No,
but we have to figure out which 3 they are. Which 3?
Oh, I meant stack ranking all 5 and then all giving 5. That to.
And then, okay, that's fine. So we can go through and, should we?
How many votes do we get per
staff
person?
rank these? Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would say if we do 3 votes, and that will focus us. If we get 5 votes, then they're all on there, right? So it's too many, and 4 may not focus us enough. So I think if we do 3 votes, and then let's see where we are with that. So let's just review what they are. There's the DOLA, there's mental health partnerships, there's Labyrinth programs that are similar, nature play, long-term strategic plan, and field use at Regnart Elementary. Okay, so let's see how many hands for enable additional DOLAs. Yeah, you can't see me. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got 4 for that one. Keep track of your own votes. Okay, how many for mental health partnerships with West Valley Community College? West Valley Community Services, sorry. Okay, none. Labyrinth programs or similar. Going to put my hand up for that. We got 4 on that. Long-term strategic plan. We've got 3 on that, okay. And field use with Regnart Elementary. 1. Okay, so I'll just give a little justification why I moved from the field use agreement at Regnart off of that. I still think it's important, but the director has convinced me that those discussions will happen. And so I'm delighted that that will happen, and so I feel confident that that is that will happen, and we just need to make sure we stay focused on it and it doesn't get away from us. And the mental health and partnerships, I think that similarly the director has mentioned that there are different programs that we will incorporate those concepts, and I think as commissioners, if we keep those in mind, we can still ask the questions when these projects come forward. And so that was my thinking behind some of my votes. Commissioner Gopal.
Yeah, I just want to add a similar one. The mental health, even though why last time I voted this time, based on what I heard from the youth activity board or the teens, they already working with the Palo Alto. I think this would be a best project for them to carry forward, because they're already connecting the dots and they're trying to do it, bring the positivity and a lot of those things. So it would be an awesome opportunity for them. So I think this would be a good one that's why I didn't put it on it, rather I just went on the other one. That's my rationale, even though I voted on the mental health earlier, but listening to them this morning, right now, in this meeting, with what the teens and they came up with, I think they have a pretty good way, and all these things should start with youth, and that's a rationale behind me just putting it down compared to the other.
Okay, so is everyone comfortable with the 3, and we'll stack rank them still being, the DOLA, the Labyrinth, the nature play, and the strategic plan? Okay, and now we need to stack rank those. Do we want to just vote between the top 2 and have the long-term be since that only got 3 votes? Or is there another suggestion on how to stack rank these?
Probably two votes person.
Okay. So we'll go back through and 2 votes per person and see how we do. Okay, the first one is DOLAs. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Second one is Labyrinth program. 2. And third one, long-term strategic plan. 2. Okay.
We are on a tie.
I think they're very different. They're just so different.
Yeah. Chair, is it okay?
Commissioner Gopal, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was looking at the screen trying to
no worries.
think of how to do it.
Yeah. So the reason even though I want to go Labyrinth program, so we are doing one, which I think one of the speakers talked about, mental health and others. So both are like engaging community. If I look at it, out of those two, I would like to pick one which really engages the community, even though both are, but I like to pick one. And my rationale behind picking out of those two, one. And the other one is that if you don't plan anything, and based on what director said, if you don't prioritize and plan for what we plan to do, the situation improves next time, then we will be scratching our head and just running around. So that's the reason I wanted to have some time spent on the long-term strategic plan, on the prioritizing, planning on it, and do the community engagement as one project within community, engaging it quickly, and the one on really working on the long term. That's my rationale behind picking one of those top two and the other one. Just wanted to make it, why did I pick it up?
Commissioner Tombe?
I voted for Enable, DOLA, and Long-Term Strategic Plan because Labyrinth is the only one I feel like I can directly help with when I'm not on the commission.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well, I'm not going away, but no, from like a commissioner accessibility standpoint, I feel like long-term strategic plan is going to involve like, you know, public works, and like there's so many layers in terms of creating that. I don't know what public works thinks. And then with DOLA locations, I feel like that's also very staff heavy, but Labyrinth is one of the segments that like a commissioner and or a community member can more actively like contribute to.
Okay, one of my thoughts on the Labyrinth is as we do look at park upgrades, we can keep it in mind, and the nature play as well, to add those. One of my goals is right now we have actually still 2 labyrinths that are not being maintained, and so I'd like to figure out a way to get those maintained. And that's sort of I'm not sure how to do that right now. Whether that's just, you know, public works that takes care of our parks, or if we get a volunteer organization or what. But so part of this is we have to, how do we keep them? And also, you know, and then building more is an additional opportunity for us that I think we can keep in mind and keep going forward. Vice Chair Hsu.
Just now I voted for DOLA and Labyrinth or other nature play project. But now I think, yeah, I changed my mind. I think, yeah, the long-term strategic plan may be more important because, yes, we already have the master plan, and we include, yeah, so many things in it. But maybe how to make it work, that may be very important for our commission, and we need to listen to the community and try to make sure which one is more important, and we can make the master plan be more specific. And so I agree that we should focus it this year as soon as possible. I really like the nature play projects, but I'm kind of agree with Gopal and Nisha. In the long-term plan, we need to, pay attention to that. Yeah, so I want to change my vote. Just.
Okay, so I think we have some consensus here that DOLA is number 1, long-term strategic plan is number 2, and Labyrinth or similar nature play is number 3.
No, but no, you convinced me that Labyrinth is important.
Well, I think we can do Labyrinth. I think we will do Labyrinth. So I'm okay with having it be 3rd, but I mean, we need to find a way to maintain the Labyrinth that we have, but and possibly go forward. But I think going forward, we can incorporate those into our park planning as we're doing upgrades there. And I see the director shaking her head like she's in agreement. I like that. And we do have the short-term thing of how do we maintain these other two. But I do, at this point, I think if Gopal and Vice Chair Shu, you convinced us, Nisha, on the long-term plan.
And you convinced me
to do. This is collaboration. So I think that's where I hear the support. Go ahead, Commissioner Gopal.
Yeah, so just to add on to the last comment you made, Commissioner, the Chair, the Labyrinth program maintenance challenge is what you said. Again, we don't have to discuss in detail, but I think these are all, once it is there in play and it will be maintained and it will be part of the regular program by the park staff, and they will do it. Kind of looks like if it is one-off, then it is a problem. And that's what, how do we make some of these programs when we start doing it? It'll be good to have an ongoing. If you don't specify it, it'll come as a one-off seasonal kind of, and then it'll disappear. So I'm not sure what process we have to make sure that unless otherwise it is a strategic plan, unless otherwise in something else, this won't be considered as an ongoing, then that would, whatever the problem you just shared will appear in many other areas as well. If it is just a one-time project, then yes, great, and then go. Because I know this started with mayor giving some fund. It's like, let's do something with that. But it looks like, and we saw the benefit, and we thought, let's put it there, and we'll let it continue. But unless otherwise there is a commitment, and there is a plan within the park recreation department and the director level, oh yeah, it's great, let's continue, then yeah, it won't be maintained because it's a one-time project. So I don't know what the process we have in play that, yes, this be included in your ongoing. So some people, at least 0.25% of somebody's work or something has been allocated to it. If not, it is going to die down the same way it is today. So I just want to put that.
So maybe what we need to do is modify that description, that it says Labyrinth program or similar programs, that the objective is to incorporate maintenance of the two new labyrinths that we have, as well as consider new labyrinths and nature play into additional parks as renovation is considered.
Got it.
Do we want to define those at McClellan and Creekside? Find ways to enhance recreation, more parks through the city with labyrinths or nature play. So do we want the rest of that all there? Create a community project with
I'd like to see that cap.
I'm not sure what that comment's there. Sorry, say that?
I'd like to see that stay in there. Local room for additional opportunities in the future, I always.
Okay, community project with low cost and overhead to partner with the local schools such as FEHZ to possibly maintain or create volunteer opportunities for students and residents. So I don't want it to be limited to that, Director. feel free to comment.
I was just going to echo what you were about to say. I would try and be a little bit less specific and a little bit more generic in like engaging the community. And so that allows for more flexibility in engaging the community that's interested in this type of thing. So gives you a little bit more flexibility. That would be my input.
And so that would, well, I think the maintenance of the two current labyrinths is very specific, and it's just a very specific thing that we want to incorporate. And then engage, so say what again?
Sorry, yeah, I wasn't speaking about the maintenance portion. I was just speaking about the second portion, about engaging the community.
Okay. What if that's the beginning of the sentence? Engage the community.
Nice big hat tip to the 4 attendees still on board with us so many hours in.
I would say, engage the community, but to possibly maintain or create new labyrinths.
To possibly maintain or create new labyrinths or nature play.
New
or similar.
Yeah.
New labyrinths. Yeah. I mean, and, volunteer stuff is sort of incorporated in that. So I don't think we need that.
Yeah, I think
it makes it more simple.
Agreed.
Okay. Can we look at the objective for the long-term strategic plan? Yeah, so we've got Regnart field use right in there. Mental health, we got that in there. That is like motherhood in the kitchen sink, right? Director, go ahead.
I defer to the Commissioner Tombe first. Go ahead.
I think that there's like the director had said, there's actually an outline of like the 22 main things that were in the prioritization. I don't want it to necessarily be exclusively limited to that, but I think that that's the place that we should start since that's where all the work was done in the first place. So maybe we can say create a prioritization and implementation list of, top 22 projects listed in the Parks and Recreation System master plan, and then the remainder can be, expansion or additional additional elements based on community input or needs. But at the same time, I know last time we had put that in there specifically so we could call this out. So if you guys want to still keep that, that's fine. I was just trying to simplify it.
Director, go ahead.
The only thing that I struggle with on this item is the implementation list. So I'm wondering, and that's why I put estimated time for the prioritization process. I think that, again, looking at this is really a multi-year, and what I tried to do is give a framework for what I thought we could prioritize and get done in the first year. And so if we could just kind of be more succinct in talking about creating the prioritization based on the 22 opportunities listed in the master plan, and to focus specifically on the parks that those long-term things are indicated on, or to reference the parks. Because it's really a two-part. It's so hard to look at the master plan sometimes because you look at the opportunity and then you have to look back at what park you're considering it at. So that's actually what takes the huge amount of time to go through this list, is because you have to kind of compare and contrast both the opportunity with the park.
Commissioner Gopal.
Yeah, I was, Director, you already you're reading my mind, so that's a that's a trouble now. So I was about to go that you're not implementing it there. So we are creating priorities to enable implementation in the upcoming years. And again, when it comes to implementation in the upcoming years, again, we will go on to prioritize within whatever you come up with out of the 22. So it has to be called out clearly. Otherwise, it will be considered as you're prioritizing and implementing few. And that's not the case. So that's why I think you made it very clear in the first, and now you reinstated that this is mainly prioritizing all those within the 22 to be ready for us to implement in the upcoming years whenever we have time, kind of, right? So I think that's the message you want to send it, because the council reads it and says, yeah, that's great, go ahead and do it. And then I think it is going to be really tough task for Park and Rec staff. See that, okay, I have to create and looks like I need to show some implementation. Otherwise you will fail in what you committed for. So I don't want to put pressure on that. So that's what I was about to say, that removing that implementation, but get ready for the upcoming years. So I think you already got the message. Thank you.
Commissioner Tombe.
Yeah, I totally agree making sure it says prioritization list. Public Works has a 10-year spreadsheet that they look at for all parks, along with, and then 10 years out from wherever we are, and they work on that every year. So they actually know, hey, we're going to need to improve this park playground at this time, 7 years from now, or this irrigation system at this time. We need to get the money and city council approval to make those changes. So they actually have that plan. What we need to do is input our elements into that after we've prioritized it. And so that might be my only, I don't know how to phrase it, like create a prioritization list of the top of the 22 opportunities listed in Parks and Recreation System Master Plan, with tentative, timeline, or with a recommendation for timeline or something, so that we can go to city council and say, hey, look, we spent 6 years collecting information. We've put them in priority order. This is what we think we're going to need. And because one of the comments I got from one of the city council members, she had thought that the $200,000 that they were giving us every year was for the long-term strategic plan, not for short-term. And she was like, I gave this to you guys for making these big changes. And I'm like, you're not going to get big changes in $200,000, especially in Cupertino. Like, that's not going to happen. So just giving them kind of a heads up, I think, is important. So we don't necessarily have to call that out, as long as that's kind of understood in this. If it is, then that's fine.
Yeah, can I just make one more recommendation? I would actually exclude some of the specifics, because I think that it will steer us off path or create certain expectations about certain things that we wouldn't necessarily be doing. So I would, yes, we're going to look at, the healing gardens, and we're going to look at expanding park amenities as well as field use agreements, because that's all incorporated into the 22 opportunities. So I think that if we call things out, it just leads for, a certain expectation. So I would just want your feedback and input on that.
What if we didn't say specifically, Regnart? I mean, the 22 opportunities are already defined, right? Those are there. So I guess I agree. We don't need specifics, as long as we as commissioners know and keep in the front of our minds. Boy, does that make it simpler. That we have some priorities that have been suggested, and we don't want to lose sight of the mental health, healing gardens, the Regnart, et cetera.
Well, and can I just add another? Sorry, can I just add another comment? Sorry, through the chair, my apologies. I just want to let you know that it's also, there are so many items that we have to go through and explain, and the simpler they are and the more concisely they're articulated, the easier they are to absorb and kind of be able to make a decision on. So I think this actually is great, because it is so concise and specific and easy to understand. And I think that we'll be able to explain it quite easily.
Okay, so I think I still don't think we've really captured the DOLA one quite well. I'm looking for some suggestions on that.
So I will give you some of my feedback if you are interested, or if you're interested in only the commissioners, that's fine too. I can hold off. So, you know,
well, one of my thoughts is that we want to invite DOLA groups to come forward to us so that we're not evaluating the whole city, and so that focuses it to, you know, where there are groups that have been established, and you know, they're out there and they want to come into the fold and be legal. And they have their own idea of how they will work, how they do work in their parks, whether it's, you know, afternoon hours or morning hours or what part of the park. And so I would like to somehow encourage that, so that it's coming to us, and that we're not, the staff is not having to just go out and blanket evaluate these things.
Understood. However, I would like some direction on how we prioritize the inquiries and how we tackle, because again, operationally, it's a large endeavor. And, you know, we can't do it at every single park. And there is, you know, based on the information that you're getting through email and, you know, oral comment, it's not just going to be at one park that people are interested in starting this. So I think that that's why I think there needs to be some analysis done. And outreach done on our part, is to appropriately roll this out in the parks. So that's my take on it operationally. Again, this is an item that, again, a lot of community members are interested in. So we get a lot of emails and correspondence about it. And managing that is part of staff hours as well. And so I would just be mindful of that. And that's why that we've put it together this way. I don't disagree with Commissioner Tombay's initial point that, you know, maybe it's not just one per year. I think what we were trying to do is, again, set ourselves up for success. So at least one, if this, I would assume this would be number one as well. So at least if we could, you know, roll that out at least one park. Certainly if we could do more, we would. But again, I just want you to be mindful of the other projects that we have going on. That's not to say that we couldn't do more in future years or do even exponentially more once we have the feedback and input.
Yeah, so part of my thought is, I thought that's where we were now that we've done Jollyman. So, so I do want to take off the no more than one per year. I think that there's no way we're going to do every park. So we will do whatever, you know, we can manage. And I guess my other question is, do we have to do trials? I mean, will they be trials? Why can't we just be moving forward? Now that we know that we can make it work, we just need to figure out where and when, and then do the outreach and et cetera. Commissioner Tombe?
I don't think that we should limit to one per year. I think we should remove that. Maybe we put in a cap just to protect staff time. However, I do think that we need to keep trials, only for a couple of reasons. One, size of park makes a really big difference. So Jollyman is a very large park, and it can house or host different things on different corners. There are much smaller parks around Cupertino, and I would hesitate to create an off-leash area in a park that's very, very, very small that might have, you know, like a small kids playground or something that there's not enough physical distance between the two. So that's the only reason I would like to keep a DOLA trial in the process. But the reason last time I had said standardize is so that we don't get into the same pickle that we got into this time, which was like, okay, we do it for like 8 months and then like 5 more months and then a couple more months, and just creating a standard and being like, okay, if it gets X number of complaints, it's the trial automatically closes and a park will not be approved. Or if it gets no complaints within a 6-month trial, then it's automatically instated. Just create it so that there's less ambiguity and there's more like clear direction. That was my intent last time when I said standardize the process, so everybody knows what to expect and when something will actually go through versus not. But I think one of the things that we can include here is, community requested. So instead of saying expand, increase, and implement, we could say like respond to community-driven interests in implementing additional dog parks or additional DOLA. Sorry, not dog parks.
Yeah, I would even call it not just interest, but a DOLA proposal, so that we have something that they can go fill out, that this is my DOLA proposal. Here's the hours, here's the location, here's something like that. And again, I don't want to design the whole thing right now, but that the community members can get together and say, we want this. And then staff can evaluate it and say, okay, this is the one we think we can work on right now that maybe has a better chance to be successful, or is in a different part of the city or whatever. But it's definitely responding to community-driven interests with DOLA proposal. Commissioner Gopal?
Yeah, so what I was thinking is the trial. I think Commissioner Tom already put it. I think the trial, in my thing, I think it is important because, again, every situation in every park and every environment with the people, I think it's different. I also feel like I think having capping with the 2 means that like people will be forced to have, oh my God, we need to get 2. So that's like, if it is a large project just for even 1, I know that director and staff, when they evaluate it, they feel that, okay, this is a large project. If you put 2, it will become an extra large project that will take away the time. Rather, I would recommend that you can have 2 trials happening, but not in parallel, because based on what I learned is, if one trial can happen, then once it is about to complete, you can kickstart the other trial, because trials are 3 months or 4 months, or even if it extends it code maximum 6. So in any period in a year, you can have 2 trials, but you can have one to complete it. One you take it to complete it. So that way, I think other one will be ready for completion the next year. You will finish it, and then you can. It will be a chain one rather than doing in a serialized. We can do put it not in parallel, but one trial starts maybe after 3 months or 6 months, whatever the other trial starts, so that at least we will have an opportunity, the staff will have an opportunity, let it go. Trials we know that we just observe, monitor, do it. That's all we do. When I say monitor the feedback, we don't do any major work. And the time, then the other one gets ready, then we should be able to implement. I think if you could come up with some kind of a plan, again, I don't want to design, Chair, I agree, but I think that would help rather than forcing them to complete 2, Rather, you can enable 1, complete 1. I think that would really help. That would be my input.
Okay, in terms of the wording there, Kevin, I was thinking, respond to community-driven DOLA proposals to implement additional DOLAs throughout the city. Vice Chair Shu.
I just have some question. I want to make it to clarify the time frame of this project. So I remember our director said, so before the Jollyman DOLA trial finished, it's impossible to start other DOLA trials. So I'm thinking, just as Commissioner Gopal said, we need some framework on how to start, how to do the next trial. Maybe before Jollyman's Park DOLA trial ends, so could staff working on the framework, on the document, on the rule, so they can get ready for the next DOLA project. and after the Jollyman Park DOLA get formalized, we can start the next project right away. And I have another question for the time frame. I agree that DOLA cannot apply to every park because some parks are really small and some park there's no appropriate place for unleashed dog. So do we do so it's like the chicken and egg. Which one should be the first step? Do we wait for the community input to say, oh, I want DOLA Park at Creekside Park, and then we do study at Creekside Park? Or our staff will do some research on all the Cupertino parks and to see which one is impossible to put DOLA there, and which one may be more likely to have DOLA there. So I just want to know, we wait for the community input first, or our staff do the study first? So yeah, so then maybe which way is more realistic?
Yeah, it is a chicken and the egg, but I mean, if we try to do it ourselves, then we may be doing a whole lot of work where there's not an interest. So maybe it's respond to community-driven DOLA proposals. Respond and evaluate community-driven DOLA proposals, so that it's still in our control that we're evaluating the feasibility of these DOLAs at particular parks. And but we're really responding and deciding, and maybe someone comes forward and they go, well, we want it in this area, and we say, well, we've looked at that now that you want it there, but how about in this other corner or whatever. But to ask staff to evaluate all the parks, I just think is unnecessary right now. Commissioner Gopal?
Yeah, I think this is where the governance or the framework helps. If we say that, okay, for the size of it and anything, whatever we learn from it, and we know that the dogs run around, and so we need that space, kind of we know approximately what size and what it is kind of, at least we can do some guidelines so that whoever the community looks into it. When I hear what the vice chair said, but it'll be an upsetting if they come back and say, no, it cannot be, then they put all the effort and they come back and with a proposal, and then we say, sorry, because of that reason. So it'll be good because they may not know. So it'll be good to have that guidelines or a governance put in place, and people can refer to it and say, oh, looks like it's kind of a prerequisite. Looks like it is all. I think I can go, and then we can fit our proposal within the framework. Looks like it's possible. Then they can come back and there will not be major disappointments. So we don't have to do any research on every park, which I agree, which is too much to ask. At the same time, if you don't provide any framework, any of them, everyone can come from every park, come back, and then you will start again doing the same, and then rejecting it for the same reason what we did it or what other things didn't work in Jollyman. So that's the reason I think providing this process, and if you could include it in your framework, I think that would make people to look into it and say, can I operate? Can this park, can my proposal fit within that? I think it will help them. So we can make this work.
So is that covered by the standardized process? So I mean, there's a form, and it defines some of the criteria that we would expect. I mean, and it has the questions of what part of the park, what are the hours, what size dogs are you looking at? We recommend, and we put on there, recommend a certain area size for large dogs or small dogs. And that's a recommendation and not a hard and fast, whatever we come up with. So does this objective meet that, Commissioner Tambe?
Yes, it does. If nobody has changes, I'll make a motion.
Before you do that, I think we still want to take this no more than one per year off. Do we want to say one trial at a time? because that sort of sets the expectation that we won't be doing a ton of trials at once all over the place, but as we go through, we'll, and that's probably slower than I think the public would want. I'm sure they'd like us to do 4 or 5 of them at once, but
I would recommend writing that.
yeah, and if the trial's only,
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
Kevin, I would recommend writing that into the objective because the information that you're typing on is not necessarily what will go directly to council.
And if the trial's only 3 months, then, you know, theoretically you could be gearing up for the next one. And they shouldn't have to be a year going forward, but, you know, we'll define that later. Is 1 too limiting? Could we say no more than 2 so that we could have one? That it might. If one it gets extended, then you could start the second one while the one you already know is successful. What do you think? It doesn't say you have to have 2. I like that. Oh, my earbuds are starting to lose power. Let me see if I can. So, okay, do you want to get rid of that parentheses under the multi-year project over there on the right? Because we now incorporated it.
Sorry, I believe these two sections. I believe these 2 sections were really just for reference. They're in the original template to council. I think they only just asked for the objective, the name, and then the objective, and that was it.
Oh, okay. I'd still like to remove that just because we've talked about it. I don't just because it's. I mean, I don't see why we would want to keep it there. It doesn't make any sense to keep it there. I understand the director would like that, and but this is our document, so. Okay, motion, Nisha.
Wait, before I make it, we are also sending the other 2 to council, right? We're just stack ranking these 3.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So I move to add or recommend to City Council the addition of the aforementioned 3 projects in the following, the aforementioned 5 projects in with the ranking of number 1 for enable additional DOLA locations, number 2, long-term strategic plan, number 3, Labyrinth program or similar, and the other 2 carryovers from the previous year in no particular order, Lawrence Mitty and Memorial Park improvements. Onto the city work plan for 2022 to 2023.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
That's my last motion.
Oh! Yeah,
We'll
wonderful pass. Kevin, does it matter? Do we want to flip the 2 and the 3 on the chart, or just set it a pain because of the coloring? So there's a row 6 that's hidden. Do we want to just it makes me nervous that there's something there that we don't want to be there. So, okay, I think that's a lot cleaner. Okay, shall we vote on this motion? Is there any other discussion? Commissioner Gopal.
I think we need to move the other two to the 4th and 5. If we go in the prioritized stack rank order, we said that we will move the top two into the 4 and 5, right?
No, we didn't say order.
No, when we stack ranked, if I understand the motion, that we will do these 3 and then we will add those additional, the other 2, the extra large projects at the end as 4 and 5, right?
I said no particular order in my motion.
Oh, but we said we
so
would
we just
need
want to
do a
make them
stack ranking.
separate?
I stack ranked 1, 2, and 3, and then just added the other 2 at the bottom.
Oh, I see. Okay. Other 2 will go in the bottom.
Okay, so can we, okay. Can we actually move them to the bottom?
According to Parley Pro, the verbal motion carries over the this is clerical.
So what we're doing now is just identifying that I don't think the motion has changed, but I think it's just
motion hasn't changed.
Presentation.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay. Okay, let's vote on the motion. Working. Kevin's got a lot of work to do.
It's a stickler for formatting. I don't know if anybody's noticed.
Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute myself, so I lost that for a sec. Okay, Commissioner Tambe.
Aye.
Commissioner Gopal.
Yes.
Vice Chair Shu.
Yes.
And Chair Stanek.
Yes.
Motion carries with 4 yes and 1 absent.
Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, I think that concludes that item. And that's it. We're on adjournment. We didn't put on here anything, commissioner reports or anything for today. So,
can I take a quick picture of it?
Then I won't. Picture of?
All the folks on the call. Or should we do it afterwards?
Sure.
Well, we can stay on after
Either way.
adjournment and you take a photo.
But before we do adjourn, I would like to see if anyone would like to add their thoughts on Nisha's tenure. We've been so lucky to have her. Commissioner Gopal.
Thank you, Chair. I think a lot of people said, I think Commissioner Tambe, it's doesn't matter. I think it looks like, as Chair Stanek said, looks like many of us have seen you grow through this commission itself. And I'm lucky to be with you for the last 4 years or 3 years, I would say, but saw you in action, irrespective of what experience we have, what levels we are in it. I specifically learned many things just by observing it when you were in a chair, before I became, and I just wanted to make sure that I make a note on it and say, oh, that's the right thing to do. So I think your candid attitude and greeting the audience when we looked like long time ago, when we were on the podium, when you really when you really greet everyone and ask them to participate more, come and do it, inviting them, that even though there are 10 people on it, you just appreciate all their inputs, their kind of, those are the things that are engaging very much, and which are the things I watched and I try to replicate. I try to copy, and then because good things always you can copy from anyone, doesn't matter what experience, what level they are in. So really appreciate all your candidness and then what you contribute and the passion towards, and then putting a candid question, doesn't matter whether you put your thoughts, there's no judgmental calls, you put your thoughts in it for anything. I know we had a lot of arguments in many of them, but that's for the good things, for the community benefit, right? It's nothing to do with personally, but I think you support and what you did. So I absolutely, I adore your leadership so far. I'm sure that we will see you in many other places too. I don't think that this will, and I don't think that you will go, and we won't let you, even if you wanted to disappear. So really thankful to be with us and helping us, even teaching us some more things which we learned. So wish you all the very best. I think you'll go new heights. So wish you good luck.
Commissioner Shu, Vice Chair Shu. Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say, I feel so lucky. I have opportunity to work with Nisha for the last 3 years, and you are always so energetic with so many creative ideas, and you are devoted to this commission's job. And I learned a lot from you. And I still remember my first year here, I didn't understand a lot of rules. And during our discussion, Nisha was chair at that time, and she explained a lot of things to our new commissioner. I really appreciate your help. And and I believe, because even if you leave this commission, but we are still in one community, I really look forward to work with you in future, and good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Director Magrini.
Thank you so much. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate your passion and your knowledge and everything that you have done dedication-wise to the implementation of the master plan and getting that done. I still actually, Vice Chair Shu, I'm learning things from Commissioner Tombe about the rules and Brown Act things. She's very knowledgeable. I might have her come back and teach a course for liaisons. But honestly, I really appreciate your perspective. I appreciate the way that you deliver the information with respect. You all are so respectful to each other, whether you agree or disagree, and I really appreciate that. And I think that you always think a little out of the box, and I think it's partially because you don't hashtag sports, which I love when you say that, and I will miss the most. But really just hope to see you involved in all the great things that are upcoming. Just because you're not going to be on this commission, you're a part of the Parks and Recreation family forever. So look forward to seeing you in person very soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, Commissioner Tombe, I've been here for 7 of the 8 years that Commissioner Tombe has been on the commission, and I have seen her grow leaps and bounds. She was qualified when she started, and she has just contributed so much to our opportunities for the city and Parks and Recreation, and instilled in me the support and the understanding of how important diversity and connectivity is for our city and our projects. And I promise you that I will continue to support those notions, and they are so important. And I just congratulate you on everything that you've accomplished here. I expect great things from you wherever you go. And personally, I'm just going to miss having you here on the commission. I know that I will see and hear from you, but hearing from you here on the commission is, I'm just going to miss you and your thoughts. And I know that passion is something that, and energetic are words that have described you by other people. I call it the fire. You have the fire in you that just makes you so special. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I mean, I don't know where to begin on 8 years, and I'm really sad we can't have our commissioner dinner this year. But hopefully maybe we can do something in the summer, even if it's just us. But, thank you all so much. It's been such a wild 8 years with a number of city councils, 3 city managers, 5 Parks and Recreation directors. I realized at this point when you had said it, Director, that I have a lot of legacy knowledge spanning 5 directors. But it has been such an honor to serve the community, and Parks and Rec is really the fun commission because we get to do like the coolest stuff. And I'm born and raised in Cupertino, so being able to come back in this capacity and help shape what the city looks like has been a real and true privilege. So I just thank you all so much for all of your insight and really helping me, you know. How often is it? Today I was like, oh, I guess I changed my mind. You know, it's like all of that happening. It's been just a real honor, and I'm not really going anywhere just because I'm not on this. You'll still see me. I'll be like that one attendee in the corner, although we have 3 today. So hey, you guys should apply for being on a commission. Always plugging for joining a commission. But thank you all so much, and I'll probably go cry after this. But yeah, thank you. It's truly been an honor to serve for actually almost a third of my life. So I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And with that, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much at 8:35.
Thanks. If you guys could not end the call, that would be great. And then also video folks, Rochelle would love to have you guys in my photo too, if you don't mind. I'd love to take a picture. Ted, Michelle. Yeah.